She stood at the doorway of the small rented apartment, her voice barely a whisper, trembling as if afraid of her own words. "I have nowhere to sleep," she said. The weight in her tone was heavier than the cold night outside. He froze for a moment, not because he didn't want to help, but because the sadness in her voice cut deeper than he expected. Without hesitation, he looked into her tired eyes and quietly said, "You can take my bed. I'll sleep on the floor." The man's name was Daniel, a hard-working mechanic in Toronto, barely managing to pay his own rent. Life hadn't been easy for him, but he always carried a soft heart for others. The woman at his door was Emily, a neighbor who had recently lost her job and had been evicted from her apartment. She had no family nearby, no friends to call, and nowhere else to go. That night, with her bags clutched in her hands, she admitted defeat to him in the simplest, most vulnerable way. Daniel set down a blanket on the floor for himself and urged her to take his bed. Emily resisted at first, ashamed to accept, but he insisted with a gentle smile. "You need rest more than I do," he told her. "We'll figure everything out tomorrow." That kindness broke the wall she had built around her heart. For the first time in days, she let herself cry, not out of despair but from the relief of being seen, of being cared for. The days that followed were not easy. Emily tried to find work but rejection after rejection wore her spirit thin. Daniel, though stretched with his own bills, quietly placed an extra plate of food at the table every night, never letting her feel like a burden. He encouraged her each morning, saying, "Today might be the day something changes." He treated her dignity with respect, never reminding her of what she owed, only giving her space to heal. One evening, when Emily returned from another failed job interview, she found Daniel fixing a broken lamp. He looked up and said, "You know, it's not weakness to ask for help. Sometimes we all need a place to land." His words struck her deeply. She realized that kindness was not just about giving, it was about creating a safe place where someone could stand back up. Weeks later, Emily finally secured a part-time job at a local cafe. The first paycheck she held in her hands made her eyes shine with hope. She walked home that evening and placed the envelope on Daniel's table. "This is for the food, the bed, the roof over my head," she said firmly. But Daniel pushed it back toward her and shook his head. "No, Emily, this is for you to start again. My floor was only temporary. Your life doesn't have to be." Her throat tightened as gratitude overwhelmed her. She realized his greatest gift wasn't the bed or the meals, it was the reminder that compassion could restore someone's strength when they thought they had none left. Months later, Emily stood tall in her new apartment, keys in hand, her life slowly piecing itself back together. She often thought of that first night, when she whispered in defeat, "I have nowhere to sleep," and how one man's selfless choice gave her the courage to stand again. The message was simple yet powerful. Kindness doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes, it's as small as giving someone your bed and choosing to sleep on the floor. In a world that often feels cold and rushed, it is acts of quiet humanity that remind us what it means to truly care for one another. Would you like me to expand this into a more dramatic emotional arc, adding stronger moments of struggle and hope, so it feels closer to a full 4-minute narration for YouTube?